The front office in Seattle should be under investigation for theft because they just committed absolute highway robbery on the rest of the NFL. While every other team was playing checkers, the Seahawks were playing elite-level chess during the 2026 draft, and they walked away with two massive steals that are going to change the face of this franchise forever. If you think you know how good this draft class is, you're wrong. It's actually much, much better, and the rest of the league is about to find out the hard way why you never let Seattle find their guys in the later rounds. Before we dive into the madness, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. We are on a massive tear lately, and I want you to be part of the most informed fan base in football. Let's get right into the fire. The first name you need to memorize is Bud Clark. Now, some people weren't even looking his way, but if you followed the pre-draft targets, he was always the guy who screamed Seattle Seahawk. At 6 feet 1 inch and nearly 190 pounds, this kid is a prototype. But here's the insane part. Several teams completely ignored him, passing on a guy who has legitimate first-round talent just because he fell to the tail end of the second. Why is this a disaster for the rest of the NFC West? Because Bud Clark is a turnover machine unlike anything we've seen in years. He doesn't just play defense, he hunts the football. Over his last 4 years at TCU, he racked up 15 interceptions. Think about that for a second. That isn't just luck. That is a fundamental understanding of how to ruin a quarterback's day. People want to complain and say, oh, it's just the Big 12. But give me a break. That's a Power 4 conference, and he was lighting it up like a Christmas tree every single Saturday. But wait until you hear which legendary Seahawk he actually compares himself to. If you're a fan of the old-school, hard-hitting Seattle secondary, you're going to love this. Bud Clark doesn't just play safety. He reads the quarterback's eyes like a seasoned veteran. He has that specific Richard Sherman-esque quality where he's already moving toward the ball before the receiver even knows it's coming his way. He is the ultimate center fielder. And for those wondering if he can get dirty in the trenches, absolutely. He's gone on record saying he models his entire game after Cam Chancellor. You don't invoke the name of the gavel unless you're ready to lay the wood. He hits like a freight train, and he's got the brash, confident attitude to match. Since Kobe Bryant left, there was a hole in that ball hawk role, and the Seahawks just filled it with a younger, faster, and arguably more aggressive version. Who do you think is most to blame if our secondary underperforms this year? Drop a name in the comments right now. The biggest reason to be hyped about Clark is that he isn't a project. We see it every year. Teams draft an athletic freak who has only started 10 games, and they wonder why he busts. That is not Bud Clark. This man played 61 games at the college level. That is a massive sample size of excellence. He's a sure tackler with instincts you simply cannot coach. Whether it's nickel, dime, or that deep middle safety spot where I think he'll truly shine, he's ready to produce on day one. He isn't some rookie who's going to be starstruck walking into the locker room. He recently said in a press conference that he knows there are big shoes to fill in Seattle, but he plans on making those shoes even bigger. That's the kind of energy that makes you want to run through a brick wall. But as impressive as Clark is, wait until you see the absolute monster the Seahawks found to fix the offensive line. Now, let's talk about a guy who defines the word gritty. Beau Stephens is the type of player that every coach dreams of but every scout overlooks because he doesn't have flashy numbers. He fell to day 3 of the draft, and honestly, I have no idea how. This kid is going to walk into training camp and has a 50-50th shot of snatching the starting right guard spot immediately. If you look at the data, Stephens is the highest-graded zone blocking guard in the country. Guess what the Seahawks are planning to run a ton of this year? Exactly. Zone. He is a hand placement specialist. While he might not break the land speed record in a 40-yard dash, he is lightning quick with his hands. Once he gets those vice grips on a defensive lineman, the play is over. He simply does not give up sacks. The NFL often gets blinded by athletic freaks who can't actually play the position. We've seen guys with 4.8 speed at offensive line who can't make a roster because they lack the IQ or the nastiness. Beau Stephens has both in spades. He's an All-American from Iowa, a school that is basically an NFL offensive line factory. They know how to run the ball, the defense knows they're going to run the ball, and they still can't stop a guy like Stephens. He's the ultimate scheme fit. Even the experts who criticized his arm length admit that in the right system, he's a long-term starter. Seattle is that system. He's coming in to compete with Anthony Bradford, and regardless of who wins that battle, the Seahawks win because the depth is now incredible. When you look at these two picks, it's clear what the front office is doing. They are moving away from the happy-to-be-here attitude that plagued the locker room after the Legion of Boom era. They are drafting fighters. They are drafting guys like Bud Clark who want to win their own Super Bowls, not just hang out with guys who won them a decade ago. The Seahawks just pulled off a masterclass in talent acquisition. They got a turnover-hungry safety who thinks he's the next Cam Chancellor, and a brick-wall offensive lineman who doesn't know how to give up a pressure. It's like taking candy from a baby. This roster is deeper, meaner, and smarter than it was a week ago. Are you hyped for the new-look Seahawks defense? Give me a yes or a no in the comments. I want to see a sea of yes because if you aren't excited about this, you might need to check your pulse. The propaganda is real, the talent is undeniable, and the rest of the league should be very, very afraid of what's brewing in Seattle. Make sure you stay tuned, because there is plenty more news coming out of camp, and you won't want to miss the updates on how these rookies are settling in. The road to the Super Bowl starts now, and it looks like the Seahawks have found the shortcuts. Catch you in the next one.